Or no.
Uh-oh. Bear with us, folks.
Testing. Welcome everyone to Haven of Horror. As always, I am Subject. I have Robert, the Stranger, Wild, and Torgo,
Hello.
the Babysitter.
The caller.
Well, no. What?
Oh, no,
I do the
yeah.
caller.
Oh, you're right, yeah. The stranger's doing the calling. That made
You
no sense.
you ruined it. Fuck you,
No, I think
Noah.
I improved it.
Uh, sure. We are here, in case you can't tell by the thumbnail, the background of this video, the title, etc. We are here to talk about the 1979 cult film When a Stranger Calls, which is the world's best short film that keeps going. Robert, why did you pick When a Stranger Calls?
I picked it because I was curious to see your guys' reaction to it. Because aside from like the really big famous moment that everyone knows, like this isn't a super well known movie. I first see it a couple years ago at a friend's house on Blu-ray. And I was actually prepped going in that yeah, this goes like a very different direction, and that's one of the things I found interesting about it. Is this makes like one of the hardest left turns I've ever seen a movie make. We've talked a lot before about movies that like turn into different genres, like from Dusk Till Dawn, and this one is always kind of in the back of my head, but I resist bringing it up because I prefer people to kind of go into it blind. If you're here watching this, sorry about that. But it's not that it does a complete genre gear shift, but it's like such a strange like flip or shift in perspective as it goes. It's a very unconventional movie, and I was just really curious to see your guys' reaction to it. Now, I predicted that, knowing your sensibilities, that Noah would probably like this more than John would, but I don't know. Um, we'll see. But
Noah,
yeah,
Noah
like
really is the wild card here.
that's true.
I guess. Yeah, I guess. Well, I really did like it, and I think I'm just really bad at predicting things because, and we'll get into it once John starts talking about the movie. But I get the feeling he didn't really care for it. And we'll talk about it once I let him talk. But uh, I I uh, I was not expecting him to not really to only. It seems like you only like the first bit of this. Am I correct in saying that?
Um,
Or
so when I say that this is the world's best short film that's been stretched into a full-length feature, I was really engaged for the first like 20 minutes, the thing everyone knows. Now, admittedly, I don't know how you stretch that into a 90-minute movie without it also becoming really irritating. And then I
There's
really
a remake of
like
it. We can
that's
check it out
what.
someday.
Oh, is that what
There
the
is a
remake
remake of it,
does?
and it's just the first 20 minutes. Does it work? I don't know,
oh,
but
so
it'll be interesting.
Weird,
okay,
interesting.
that's really
Okay.
Yeah.
interesting.
And then I really like the last, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes when it shifts back to the babysitter, who
Yeah,
is the world's most like traumatized final girl. Uh,
She's up there.
yeah.
this is one of the creepiest shots in a film I have ever seen. Which and like they mentioned, full spoilers for this movie. It's what 40, 50 years old at this point.
Yeah,
When she wakes up, when she like uncovers the bed and that guy is just there, that was horrifying. But the entire middle of this movie lost me. I kind of checked
interesting.
out when it shifts perspective. Um,
Okay,
when we do the time skip.
I
because
will say,
because that's what hooked me.
Oh, okay.
interesting. All right.
Yeah,
Well, because what I will say though, to John's point, is that is not an unpopular opinion. Like he mentioned up top that this is a cult film, absolutely, and this is a divisive movie, and you could see why this isn't necessarily hailed as like a masterpiece or anything like that. I totally get why this is a divisive movie for those reasons. It's almost structured kind of like vignettes that then kind of converge at the end, and I don't know, and not to speak for you, John, but I wonder if watching this movie a second time, you might enjoy that stuff more, just knowing where it's going. But I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely possible because I can't point to anything was like this is bad. It's just I wasn't ready because I did go into this completely blind. I didn't look up anything. I didn't spoil anything for myself. So I expected it to be a house movie. And then when we get to the big line that everybody knows, the call is coming from inside the house. I was like, wait a minute, this can't be over. Like I just started, right? And then I looked at the time and it was like, yeah, I'm like 20 minutes in. What's going on? And then it does lose. And then yeah, it was just like I couldn't get hooked into anything that was going on in the middle kind of vignettes like you said. But maybe knowing where it's going, I would like it more on a second viewing. I'd be interested to see, and we will find out when we do the original and remake commentaries on these.
Yeah, for sure. Which I think I've seen parts of, but I've never seen it all the way through. I've not heard good things about it, but it'll be interesting to check out. And I should mention that Tyler in the live chat is echoing your sentiments. He says he really likes the first act and the third act, but doesn't love the stuff in the middle. So like that's not an unpopular opinion. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. I don't know
Noah's
like the
wrong as
general like
always.
I don't know like the general consensus or reception of this movie, so I didn't know how divisive it was. Going in, the only thing that I knew about this was the calls coming from inside the house, which is we should note this isn't the first movie to do that trope. Black Christmas predates this. And
Well,
there's
and
Yeah,
probably
this
Black
two
is
other
looking at Black
examples.
Christmas hard. Funnily enough, I don't know Noah because this is your first time watching as well, so this is mostly directed at you. When you were watching it, and the first time we start the phone call, the answer, and that voice is like check on the kids. I didn't hear what
Yeah.
he said at first because of the way it's like
Mhm.
modulated. So when she said what, I was like, yeah, what? What did you say?
What?
right.
I had subtitles on, so I
Oh,
could
Mr. Fancy
I could
Pants over
understand
here.
them. Me with my fancy schmancy subtitle button. I know.
No, I
But
love subtitles. Just they don't always work on Peacock for some reason.
Oh yeah, it's the
yeah.
worst. Noah watching movies on easy mode.
I
Yeah.
watched this on Prime, which does have subtitles that work. So
Noah's
take
the
that,
type that
Peacock.
plays Elden Ring and is like, I need an easy mode in this game.
I don't get that comparison because I haven't played Elden Ring, but okay. Um, yeah, so going in, all I knew was the call, that whole trope. I assumed the whole movie was going to be that. Although, when it gets to the point where it does diverge, I remember talking about this with somebody. It might have been Robert or someone else and apparently this movie goes in a very different direction. And then I was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. Right when the cops come, and then we get introduced to the Clifford character who kind of becomes the protagonist for the middle of the movie. But also the opening scene reminded me a lot of Scream, which I figured just
Scream
based on
has
the
to be
premise.
looking at this.
It
I, fi-
absolutely is.
I figured just based on the premise of this movie, like I already figured that Scream was looking at this. But this is basically an extended version of the opening of Scream, just extended to 20 minutes. So I definitely see the influence there.
Well, and it's
And
funny
also,
too
you.
because when she calls the cops, sorry, real quick, when she calls the cops, those are the worst cops in the world. Yeah, this guy's
Yeah.
calling me and like leaving harassing message. We get these calls all the time. It's nothing.
Yeah, you're fine.
Those crazy cops.
Sorry, Robert, what were you gonna say?
Well, to what Noah mentioned earlier about like the whole calls from coming from inside the house, Black Christmas did that. Like we all said, this is definitely looking at Black Christmas or inspired by that. Though that movie doesn't invent that trope either. That's actually like a urban legend thing that like really gets around in the '60s. People just getting more paranoid. I mean, of course, Halloween, lots of babysitter horror movies because of
Oh
that,
yeah,
and I don't think there's
to
any
this
like
day.
to this day, absolutely. And I don't think there's like any documented evidence of like a historical event we can pinpoint that happening with. That's just an urban legend that catches on in the 60s of, oh, the killer's coming from inside the house, that we then start doing in a lot of movies in the 70s.
Yeah. I will say the other big thing that surprised me, though, also having to do with the structure of the movie, I was not expecting that we checked back in on the babysitter. I thought that she would be gone the whole movie after that first 20 minutes. So I was surprised that we see where she is 7 years later, and she becomes the protagonist again.
Yeah, I think in a more conventional movie, we would be checking back in with her throughout. Like, no, she's still the protagonist, and we're still see where she's going. But with the way this is made, it is interesting how you kind of forget about her and feel like, oh, she's just the opening part of the movie. Moved on, okay. So that when we do circle back to her, it's kind of, I find it more effective actually. We're like, oh my god, like I didn't know she was
Yeah.
gonna get roped back into this. And the final act I think is very tense with everything happening
Yes.
to her. And I want to shout out Carol Kane as Jill, who I think is amazing in this movie. Even though she's not in it a lot, she's in the first 20 minutes and the last like 10 minutes. And I think she really sells like the young college student babysitter in the opening, and then like the mid-20s, you know, working mom at the end. Like I think she really sells like those two different time periods of that character 7 years apart.
Yeah,
And she really sells the trauma of what this poor character goes through.
absolutely. Yeah. It's funny though, because I only knew this actress from uh, a few things, including like I think she was the Ghost of Christmas or the Ghost of Christmas Past in Scrooge, and I think she played like a bit part in um, that movie that John and I just watched. What's the name of that? Princess Bride.
She is in The Princess Bride. She's
Yeah.
Miracle Max's wife,
Yeah, so it's funny seeing her in a more serious role.
and not in old age
I
makeup.
I love how
Right.
unspecific you were. Just like thinking about it, I did go to Princess Bride first. I was like, she's in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake. What?
See, that movie did stick with you.
Unfortunately. No, she is very good. I do think she suffers from not being in the movie enough. Because if you're gonna circle back to her and like now she has kids, to me the viewer 5 minutes ago she was a college student, and I did forget about the time skip because we just get I think like a line of dialogue, so I was very confused. I was like, wait. At first I was like, wait a minute, is that the same like character? And then I remembered, oh,
Yeah.
right, there was like a line of dialogue. It's what, like 6 years later?
It's 7 years later.
7 years later.
I think we do see a title card for that though.
Yeah, it's very
Oh,
good.
okay.
That shift, like it is a little awkward, where they make you kind of wait a minute to get the exposition of like what's going on. Where the cop character is now private investigator, and what he's investigating is that this killer who they caught has escaped. But like both the killer getting caught and then escaping, like all happens off screen. Again, it's very unconventional and can be kind of confusing
And
on a first viewing with what's going on.
remind me, because I've forgotten, what do they say is his motivation for killing the kids at the beginning? That is something I do want to give this movie kudos for, by the way. Is if this was just a short film, that is a horrifying ending.
Yeah.
But wasn't it like something personal?
They never give a clear backstory. Like they hint at stuff. It's interesting. What I find interesting about the killer in this movie, I think played very well by Tony Beckley, is it starts in that Black Christmas place where it's somebody you don't know what his real name is, you don't know his motivation or backstory, and even though we don't learn that information, unlike the Black Christmas movie, here we actually get to spend time with the killer and see his point of view. And I always find movies like this interesting that like force you to sit with him and see him as like this pathetic, broken person who's
Yeah.
done these evil, horrible things, but it's like he's not at that Silence of the Lambs
He's not a psychopath.
franchise character. Yeah, like he doesn't have like gimmicks, he's not this big, large land figure. He's just like a pathetic weirdo who you see trying to like how he like tries to flirt with the girl at the bar. Like he's just something off about him, but it's very subdued.
But
pretty.
But I think the
realistic.
problem with that is if you're gonna ask me to follow him, because like The Last of Us Part 2, does this with Abby, asking her to follow. I need a reason to care. Like I need a motivation or something. Like I'm following this guy. I'm like, why did this guy kill these kids? Like, did he have an attraction towards the wife, or was it a work thing? Because don't they say he's like from England or something?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely not a crime of passion though, since I mean they put him in
Yeah.
in its same asylum, and you get little flashes in the middle, like that one scene where he breaks down in the bathroom and like he's remembering killing the kids and is pretty messed up, and but he's also remembering the institution and the shock therapy he went through. So I think his motivation for like the back half of the movie is just, well, I want to go back there because
Yeah.
that sucks.
Well, and it's
wasn't a good time.
weird because they frame it like he escaped, and then that
Yeah.
cop is like chasing him, but he never tries to, from memory, because I've only seen this once. But he doesn't really try to arrest him. He just like harasses him for a little
Oh
bit.
no.
Yeah.
So he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. He
he-
wants to.
doesn't
He's
He
gonna go
doesn't
full
want to do this by the
vigilante.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's decided that this guy has to die. And I think
He's like, "Kill Dr. Loomis."
yeah,
This is
yeah,
like six
he
movies
shoots him
in one.
6 times.
Yeah.
It kind of is. But what I find really interesting about the middle section of this movie is that yeah, there isn't a whole lot of motivation that you get for the killer's character, but it's doing something. It's asking you to do something that really uncomfortable, which is try to sympathize with this killer
Yeah.
that has butchered children at the beginning of this movie. And Robert, you mentioned that scene where he's in the bathroom, like kind of getting flashes of memories back to his past. That scene all read to me as this is a guy that's struggling with uncontrollable urges that he cannot like rein in. So to me, I got the feeling of he doesn't really want to kill these kids, but there's something like provoking him into like committing all of these violent acts.
I think the
And-
problem with that, Noah, is it's not specifically stated in the film that I caught. And if they want me to feel sorry for him, I need to be in his head more. I'm going to keep going back to this example, and I think Robert will agree with me. The Last of Us Part 2 does the same thing, where they show this character doing a heinous thing, and then about halfway through the game, they switch perspectives and ask you to try to sympathize with this character. But they put you in her shoes and like in her perspective and in her head, so you can see what she's thinking. If this is like an uncontrollable urge, then he either needs to kill more people or like try to resist killing more people or something, because all I'm watching is just like this sad, pathetic man that
Yeah, I think I empathize with him more than I sympathize with him because there is
sure.
a difference.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you have like, oh, he's from England. Like they make his backstory kind of mysterious on purpose. The way I read it is when you get to the third act where he's kind of hit rock bottom or even below rock bottom, and then by fate or chance he stumbles across that newspaper and sees the girl's photo, which is a little contrived, but whatever. But it feels like, oh, he's like falling back on old habits, like he's going back to whether it's revenge or just what he knows. So the mystery didn't bother me personally. For me, all like the empathy just comes through his performance because I think he really sells it. But he's still the antagonist of the film. He's still this evil, horrible monster. And whether it's meant to be blatant social commentary or not, you also get the impression that being in this institution for 7 years, at least in 1979 when this movie's made, like that didn't help him. He didn't gain anything from those 7 years. I don't think the movie's preachy about it, but clearly shock therapy didn't work. So that's something going on.
I also get the feeling though too that the kind of like dynamic of who you would usually root for in this scenario is getting a little flipped just because the inspector or the PI guy is so like hell bent on killing the killer, and it's like, oh, it's like kind of like the Halloween kills thing. Oh, now we've become the monster, although that's not spelled out in dialogue. I do get what you're saying though, John, with maybe not getting quite enough information or like backstory on him. I feel like enough of that information was communicated to me visually where it just worked for me. But I do understand where you're coming from too.
Well, and like even to use your example of the detective, I don't get a sense enough of his mental state or like his relationship with this person. Is it the cop that arrested him originally, like in the opening?
Yeah. So
Okay.
he's been promoted, and the private eye guy we're following has
Yeah.
like retired, and now this is what he's doing. And he just sees the killer as a monster who he doesn't want arrested. He just wants to kill him, and arguably makes things worse. I do think there are some pacing issues in the middle, and I actually think a little more humor with him could have livened it up, because I actually do like the private investigator guy a lot. He's just this middle-aged schlub, you don't typically
Yeah.
see on a manhunt in these types of movies. But there's a great bit when he's at the woman's apartment who the killer was stalking earlier. Not to kill her, just for companionship or coffee or whatever. But when he's like banging on the door and he's like, "Let me in," she's like, "Show me your badge." He's like, I'll show you when you let me in." And then she does, and he's like, "I don't have a badge. I got paperwork. I forgot it. Shut up."
It's at home.
That's a really good comedic bit, and I think the movie could use a little more of that stuff in the middle just to kind of lighten
Yeah,
it up.
For
I
sure.
need
Even
to
though it's
care
a
more
horror
about
movie.
either the killer or the private investigator, because I don't understand
Yeah,
why
that's fair.
he gets to that point so quickly. No, this guy has to die.
Again, it's like, that's a really fucked up thing he did. That's just the conclusion he's reached. He was
Yeah,
there.
but
I think he blames himself, because I believe he is the cop the babysitter's talking on the phone too. So I think he feels a bit of responsibility
I thought
for
so
what
at
happened.
first. I thought so at first, but I think in the subtitles they have different names, but their
Okay,
voices are
I
pretty
wasn't sure.
similar.
real quick before we
But
continue, Tyler's following up on what you were saying earlier about the '60s thing. If you do, you want to
mhm.
take a look at that?
Yeah, he said that during the 1950s there was a babysitter that was murdered, and it's believed that the man was in the house, which led to that urban legend in the 60s, which is really sad and messed up, and also not the only example of that. Unfortunately, that type of shit has happened a lot, and it's horrifying. It's movies like this, like, we haven't even really got into it. I mean, like, John up top praised the first 20 minutes, and I think it's, for me, like one of the most intense openings I've ever seen.
It's very
This is the shit
effective,
that
very
scares me.
tense.
Yeah.
And I like it introduced you to a final girl that I like, um, which I think is the biggest thing. Just she ends up being the protagonist of the piece, but she's not in what 2/3 of this movie.
Hmm. At least half of it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very strange, but this is the definition of interesting, where I think this is an interesting idea that doesn't ultimately come together. But and yeah, you could remake this. I don't know how the remake is, but you could do this again, do a little bit better. Hell, you
You
could
know what?
farm
You
I
like
could
three
say,
movies out of this movie.
right.
you know what I think you could do though, is to maybe fix some of your criticisms with the movie, John. Is you could probably do this as a mini series, and that way
Yeah,
you can like do the you can have one episode focusing on the killer, one on the babysitter, one on the
yeah.
inspector guy, and you can play with those like shifting perspectives more.
And you could do the same thing where after the first episode, if somebody's going into it blind, they're probably thinking, "Oh, her story's done. Like, she's probably not coming back." And then when she comes back in the fourth or fifth episode, it's like, "Oh, we're circling back to this. Okay."
Mhm.
But then you could still flesh that out a lot more. Absolutely.
Yeah,
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 no,
because
I'd
I
love
think
to
that's
see
the
that
biggest thing
actually.
that hurts this movie. Is just it's because this is what is this a 2-hour movie? I don't remember.
No, it's
90
like
minutes.
90.
97
It's like
minutes.
90 minutes, and there's like 6 different movies within that 90 minutes. Uh,
I will concede they do try to cram in a lot of information into 90 minutes. I think it mostly works, but I do get what you're saying, John.
Noah's like, this is better than Silent Night, Deadly Night. Shut up.
Uh,
No,
Two
no.
different things.
let's
That's
not get
to
into that.
John's point. To John's point, though, that is a good example of making like the killer your protagonist, who you sympathize with and understand, but is still a monster and does these
Yeah,
horrible things. Like, that is a good
yeah.
example
Yeah.
of that. And of course, we haven't discussed the rest of the When a Stranger Calls franchise. Like When a Stranger Calls Back in the 90s, where I think they get her back. I think that was a TV movie. And then there was the 2006 remake, which we
Which
discussed.
Tyler's
And
just
also,
asking about.
oh, and also there's the 2006 When a Killer Calls movie. That was the mockbuster
Oh,
version.
that's the Asylum. Okay.
So, there's a lot
Jesus.
to this franchise we have yet to dive into.
I am curious about the sequel because I feel like in the 90s you'd go for a more traditional narrative.
And also, like, what's weird about it is you'd assume that's like a Scream thing, but it's not. It's 93.
Mhm.
Like, it does predate that. But, because this is funny, when it hits DVD, the tagline is, before there was Scream, there was The Stranger. So that's what the DVD of that movie looks like.
I wonder if it's the same guy in the sequel.
It certainly isn't, which is why When a Stranger Calls Back is a weird title, but I haven't seen it. Or
'Cause
they
he's
How
not
do you
recast
know
it.
it's
calling
how do you know it certainly isn't?
Well, because the actor who played him in this movie, he actually passed away like just a few
Oh no,
months after
sorry,
this
I don't
movie
mean the
came
same
out.
actor. I mean I wonder if it's the same character.
So it could be the same character recast, but then then that would mean it's just a stepfather situation where it's like, no, he totally died at the
Well,
end of
no,
that first
that's
movie,
why I
and
was
then
confused because I
so
thought you
it
were
could
gonna
be.
say it's because he
Yeah.
died, the character died. I'm like,
Yeah,
I remember the stepfather. They made 4
exactly.
of
Yeah.
those. It's fine. This
So
really
who
makes
knows?
me want to show Noah The Last of Us Part 2 at some point
I
because we
mean, I
can't escape
know
those games.
I know a lot of the spoilers of that game, but yeah.
We'll do it one day. We got a lot on our plate, but yeah. I mean, I'm glad I watched this so I can say I have seen it. I would be convinced to watch it again for the channel. I don't know if this is something I would seek out in my own time.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I
no,
don't have
I'm really
much else
glad
to
that
say about it.
I'm really glad that I finally had the chance to watch it, and that I went in knowing a little bit about it, but not too much, so my experience wasn't really ruined or anything. Um, yeah, no, I thought this was a good pick, Robert.
This was
Yeah,
a good
thank you.
pick.
Well, yeah, I knew it would be an interesting discussion wherever you guys landed on it. And John earlier was mentioning the climax of him in the bed, which you said you didn't see coming. Yeah, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
Well,
With the killer.
so I think we've talked about it before. I don't know if it's on camera or off camera, but one of my favorite shots in horror movies that always scares me is when you just pan a camera and there's something there that shouldn't be there. Like there's a shot in Lords of Salem, which is a god awful movie by the way, but it's just like panning across Sherry Moon Zombie's kitchen, and then there's something in the corner of the kitchen that you know isn't supposed to be there, but if you're not looking for it, you
Yeah.
miss it, and it's terrifying.
No, that's always scary.
This is similar.
Eh,
We don't do
for
that
sure.
enough.
And that they do, at least in the opening and ending sequences, like it's a really well edited movie. Like their choice of close ups, it's very Halloween Michael Myers, where you're just getting like these different shots of the house.
You
and
could
you're,
tell
like,
me this
getting
was greenlit
these
to
different.
capitalize on Halloween, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it comes out the year later, but again, I don't know if that's coincidental or because we're just making a lot of these types of movies at the time. But the other bit that I love, or that really gets me, is when we're at the end and she's at the restaurant with her husband and she gets the call and she so sells the terror of that movie. Like, that is literally the worst, most horrifying thing that could happen to this
Yeah.
person 7 years
That
later is the, have you checked the children? Like, oh my God, he's
Yeah.
back.
that was stressing me out because I hate when people get emotional like that, and it just goes on and on. It's like we need to
Yeah.
move on. Like, can we stop?
Because it's played very realistically, just her panicking, everyone like crowding around trying to see what's going on. Like, it's so realistic. Like, the awkwardness of it is
So,
so believable and palpable.
and Tyler, I see your comments. We'll get to those in a minute. To rewind real quick, this may have been greenlit because of Halloween, but this director has a short film called The Sitter, which sounds like it might be like the first 20 minutes. That would lead credence into this is a 20-minute short
Yeah.
film that they blew up into a 90-minute movie. But he also directed a movie in the 80s called April Fool's Day, which is terrible. But It has Ginny from Friday the 13th Part 2. It's the only other movie
Oh,
I've seen
cool.
her in.
Does that one have a remake?
I feel like it might.
Yes, a direct-to-video remake in 2008.
Oh, no.
Wonderful. Another one for the wheel.
April. I think there's like a big name in that too.
That is a shame, though, that this guy apparently went on to direct some not so good movies, because this is a really well directed movie.
Scout Taylor Compton is in that. If you don't know that name, that is Laurie Strode from the Rob Zombie Halloween movies.
Oh, okay.
Cool. She's in lots of stuff. And yeah, Tyler, we discussed it earlier, but again, I haven't seen the remake myself. I think we've seen parts of it, but I've heard people talk about it. It does sound like the remake's just the first 20 minutes stretched out of just a girl getting harassed by a guy on the phone, and I've not heard good things about it, but I haven't seen it myself.
Because that
but
won't get
we'll check it out at some
repetitive.
point. Yeah, right. But it's also the cell phone era.
This
He
guy
also
directed a
mentions
movie
that-
called The Stepford Husbands. I've never heard of this.
Tyler also
posters,
mentions, to my point earlier about making a mini series, you could do it set in the institution with the guy in there. Yeah, and then
Well, yeah. And again, I just really like in terms of stuff in the middle. I like the grit of it. It's just this gross 70s city wherever we are. And again, it's not a super big like genre shift, but it does become kind of a noir detective movie in the middle for a little bit.
I think that's kind of why I dug the middle, just because I like that genre.
Oh, this is really. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just got a lot of like Taxi Driver vibes in the middle section.
So this is interesting because I have the Wikipedia page for When a Stranger Calls Back, which for whatever reason, every time I see that poster, just the way that it's framed, she looks like Chloe from Smallville, and it like messes with my brain.
You're not wrong.
No, I keep having to think. Wait a minute, is that Chloe? But that reunites the director of the first movie and the I think this is the police guy and the lead. Like they got everybody back for this.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting. It was a Showtime movie, so maybe it's decent.
I've heard it's not decent. I've heard it's pretty bad. But
they got
maybe
Katie.
We'll check it out.
They got Katie Cassidy for the remake.
That makes sense.
She was in a lot of those.
Yep.
And Tommy Flanagan. Wasn't he in something we just watched?
I've never heard this name before, so I don't know.
Oh, he's in Guardians too.
Okay. He's probably one of the Ravagers.
Yeah. I don't know how to say his name, but he's one of them that dies during Taserface's mutiny. Oh, he's in Alien vs. Predator.
Well, there you go.
Noah, how can you forget your favorite movie?
Alien vs. Predator?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate that movie. I want to watch it again, just because
Noah,
there's new Predator stuff this year.
He's the taxi driver in the game.
Oh, cool.
That's what it was. I knew I recognized it.
Me and Robert's most recent movies were connected then.
Yeah. The Tommy Flanagan Cinematic Universe. Robert, since this is your pick, do you have anything else to say about When a Stranger Calls?
No, I think we covered the gist of it. I think it's an interesting movie. There's a lot I like about it. It's not one of my favorites or anything. It's certainly not one of my favorites of like movies I've recommended on this series we've been doing, but I knew it'd be an interesting discussion and one that you guys should check out to talk about. It's also interesting that like it absolutely is more of a cult film. You know, not a lot of people have seen it anymore. and has always had like that's one of those movies like got mixed reviews from critics, but like it's also a horror movie. Like take that for whatever it's worth.
Right,
Like
right.
critics get horror wrong all the time, but it is a divisive movie, and understandably so. But also, it still made like $20 million on like a $1 million or $2 million
Yeah.
budget. Like so, it was still certainly profitable. It
Mhm.
just wasn't like a huge smash hit like Halloween or anything like that. But yeah, I'm glad you guys watched it. I enjoyed talking
Yeah.
about it.
The
I
director
enjoyed
of the
talking about it too.
remake, the director of the remake produced Night of the Living Dead: Darkest Dawn.
Oh,
Which one is that?
why do you need to know?
This
I need
is
to know.
oh, this is the one of the animated retellings, and this one I'm actually
Oh.
curious about because it got Tony Todd back as Ben, Danielle Harris as Barbara,
Oh yeah, it's this one.
and Bill Moseley back as Johnny.
Yeah, I love that you said one of the animated retellings. There's
Well, because
more of
they
them.
did, yeah. Do you remember just a couple years ago, Warner Brothers put out a
Well, there's
Night
a
of
3D one.
Night of the Animated Dead.
Yeah.
I heard about it, but I never watched it.
No, the 3D one is this one, the Night of
Oh,
Night
this
of
is
the
okay,
Living
okay.
Dead: Darkest Dawn.
Whew.
Okay.
That's a
Darkest
title.
Dawn.
Darkest Dead by Day Dawn. Just get them all
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah. Well, even better is it's also known as Night of the Living Dead Origins and Night of the Living Dead Origins 3D. Anyway, if you're watching this after the fact, thank you very much for watching. We appreciate it. If you liked this content, hit subscribe and throw us a thumbs up. And check out the Patreon, which will be in the link below. If you're watching this live, Noah is going to reveal what his pick is for 2 weeks from now. We're all thrown off now because we had things.
It might be a few weeks, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll
Noah,
see.
what are we watching?
All right, so my pick is a movie that John has seen,
Oh,
but I'm pretty sure Robert hasn't seen it. My pick for our next episode in this series is a review of Donnie Darko.
Oh
my God, it's happening.
Okay,
It's happening.
Noah.
Why
Which
are we
cut?
reviewing a superhero movie on a horror channel?
I mean,
all I know is
superhero.
all I know is that's a superhero movie. That's what everyone says.
You say that like we haven't done that before. Me and Noah reviewed Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness when it came out.
We did, yes. Yeah.
Noah, which cut? Or do you want us to try to watch both?
Very good question. I'm going to watch both.
Okay.
I'm not going to force you two to watch both. I've never seen the director's cut, so...
Are you sure? I
there
thought
was
that's
a
the
cut.
version we watched.
No, we watched the theatrical.
Okay.
I've only seen the theatrical cut twice, so technically that's the only one I can recommend to Robert. But
Okay.
you choose whichever version you want to watch.
I didn't know if this was like a Dark City situation where people are like, no, don't watch the theatrical cut, only watch the director's cut. Like it's the real.
No,
movie.
I think
It sounds
both.
like there's not that.
Both have
discrepancy.
their fans.
Yeah.
I've never watched them back to back. I kind of just alternate, so I don't have a preferred cut. I will probably watch them both as well, just because I have that Arrow 4K.
Cool.
That has both. So Robert, if you can only watch one, we won't hold it against you. We'll just throw you in a lava pit somewhere.
If you can only watch one, watch the theatrical cut.
I will start with the theatrical cut, and then I'll get to the director's cut if I have time. But
From memory, I
looking
think
forward to
there's a third cut somewhere in there that you can make. That has scenes from the director's cut put back in the theatrical cut. But yes, Noah, that is an excellent pick. Tyler agrees with me. That is one of my favorite. I love Donnie Darko.
Hell yeah,
Cool.
I'm really excited to talk about it. It's another more horror adjacent pick. Don't worry, I will get to regular horror movies, but
it's more horror than The Game. I think.
I guess so. It's a little bit more supernatural. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're watching this live, give us about 5 minutes. Do you guys both need 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And we will be doing a commentary on the original Jurassic Park. And Noah, I pulled out my Blu-ray my 4K Blu-ray for this.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I
Because you were giving me shit for What was it that we watched?
Uh,
That I didn't have I couldn't find
Jaws,
my disc.
right?
Oh yeah, Jaws. I have it
Yeah.
on. I have this one on disc, motherfucker. Uh, we'll be
Well,
back
you've
in.
one up me because I just have Blu-ray. So.
Yeah, bastard. We'll be back in about 5-ish minutes.
Yep. See ya.
Oh, and if you're watching this on YouTube, it's gonna start a new stream.